Welcome back to Invest Global. Today we're discussing the top 3 undervalued commodities that I currently see in the market. Now, these are mainly focusing on the technical charts based on the actual technical patterns, but I will add in some fundamental analysis based on a lot of the things that I see with the commodity market. This is where I got my start in investing commodities, then went more into blockchain and some of these other investment strategies. Now it's a bit more emerging markets. But the main 3 that I will be talking about is cattle, sugar, and silver. Now, silver is always a great precious metal to get your hands on because you actually have a utility with it. And I do think when you're looking at the technicals, it's a great situation. We've seen a lot of suppression. People like JP Morgan with the silver charts, they actually had a huge lawsuit against JP Morgan where they literally had to pay like billions of dollars because of this whole situation. Then sugar is the other thing we'll be taking a look at. Very, very interesting situation. And cattle. So those are really the top 3, but I'm really going to lay out my thesis as far as why these are undervalued commodities currently in the market. We see things like copper absolutely exploding. It's especially in the monthly charts. Let me just pull that up actually right here on the monthly charts. Copper is so interesting, and I like to use copper and crude oil kind of as a leading indicator for some of the other commodities. Not that they're necessarily correlated, but just to see where is money flowing, right? So for a long time, we saw oil really retrace, but now we're seeing a bit of a retest off some of these highs. If I can pull up this copper chart. So in the monthly chart for here in copper, you can see we really hit these new all-time highs, and then we've had this massive wick down. So that's very interesting in my opinion. Copper is kind of this play. Obviously, you have housing commodities being bought up and really inflated like crazy. That's where I'm really seeing upfront inflation is in the commodity markets, but not in these commodities, right? So I really like things like lithium, uranium. There's so many things out there. Cobalt you could get into, but when I look at precious metals, I mentioned obviously in gold, silver, palladium. You could say platinum as well. But I think out of those 4, I would like silver the best. I hold a lot of physical silver bullion. Now, even if you're not a commodities trader, right? So if you're not trading commodities, there's really, I would say, 2 other main ways you can actually gain exposure to these commodities as I talk through them. And maybe I'll do another video on this in the future. Just let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. But really the main way is either commodity producers, so owning the actual stock of a commodity producer. So maybe it's a copper mine or a silver mine or a farm, right, that has cattle, or a sugar plantation, right? These are all things where St. Kitts and Nevis, one of their before they had this whole citizenship by investment driving a lot of the economy, it was a sugar. It was kind of like a sugar country that drove a lot of the economy. But now I think sugar is something that not a lot of people are looking at, and that's what I like to look at when I'm seeing undervalued commodities. Where is everybody else not looking to? And that's where I see cattle and sugar as far as agricultural commodities really come into play. But again, copper and as well as oil. Here, if we pull up crude oil, and then we'll hop into our main ones that we're talking about today. If crude oil wants to come up, come on, baby, oil. Let's see. No. We want crude. I'm not sure why this is not showing. Here we go. That's strange. Okay, so yeah, you can see oil is kind of retesting these highs. If you go to the 1 week time frame, move my face here. We go to the 1 week time frame and we can see, and again, this is just kind of gauging the market as far as commodities, is we're really retesting these highs, right? So right here where we got rejected, and I thought I had that chart pulled up, but I guess not, where we got rejected right here is what we're retesting essentially. So we could see a massive wick down. Maybe we retest this rising wedge and then see new all-time highs. But for me, crude oil again drives a lot of how I look at the obviously the Nasdaq, right? Just U.S. currencies in general and U.S. equities, rather. And then I also like to look at the U.S. dollar index. I like to look at the 10-year Treasury yield. These are kind of macro indicators that help you gauge a lot of other investments. So moving on to cattle, so you can see the cattle futures charts obviously peaked here in like 2014. This is a long-term chart dating all the way back to, 1965. Yeah, so we saw that massive peak up here to around 170.9 and 115. So this is the thing like cattle. I'm assuming you're not actually buying the actual cattle yourself as an inflation hedge. Some people are stocking up on silver, some people are stocking up on wood, or some people are I'm assuming you're probably not buying sugar in bulk, right? Because it's not as effective. But something like cattle, that's where I'm much more interested in getting into agricultural companies as kind of a hedge in this market for an upside play. Similar with silver like commodity producers or uranium commodity producers or whatever it is, lithium commodity producers, and similar with sugar. So if we go back here to the cattle chart, you can see this really interesting trend that is going on. So obviously, if we remove these EMAs, we remove these Bollinger Bands, what is this? What has been going on here, right? So I have a course on technical analysis. It's absolutely for free. It's called Global TA. I would say this Like, this is what I would like to do. It's called Global TA, and we have the last course coming out this Sunday, actually. It was an 8-part series. It's like a completely free technical analysis course. I just saw so many people charging like thousands of dollars for these trading courses. I'm like, so stupid. This information should be able to access anywhere in the world. Anyone should be able to watch it, and that's why I put that out on this channel. So I do have a playlist called Global TA. You can see that link down below in the description. But we've really kind of seen this just sideways moving, a bit of a descending channel here. But this, what's most interesting is kind of how these lateral lines have been going. So if you kind of take these and you go, okay, what has exactly been going on here, right? So you see these multiples of kind of the same trend happening, right? So we could literally just duplicate this line, if we're here in TradingView, we could literally just duplicate this line, paste it over there, duplicate the exact same trend. I apologize, there's some construction going on in the back. I just got back from Batumi, Georgia, and on the Black Sea. So I'm back here in Tbilisi for about a couple of days, and then heading to Armenia to look at some real estate opportunities in Armenia, and then I'm kicking off to Estonia, Ukraine, kind of some different countries around Europe. But you can see this similar pattern that's happening, right? So really what I'm looking for is a breakout of this trend and then a retest of these highs. And that's why I'm very interested in this, because typically you do not see something like this. It's kind of an anomaly, honestly, in the markets, especially, if you're looking at something like blockchain investing. You don't see anything like this happening. You do see it sometimes with commodities, but again, these are historical charts. You have to understand these are monthly trends. This is a very long-term trade. This is not something that you would be day trading, or I would more be interested in swing trading this. If we see retracement down to these levels, that's where I would definitely be picking up some cattle. Like, definitely be, and I might even trade some futures, but I would definitely be picking up some investments that are around cattle. So that's what I mean, by the way, whenever I'm recording a video based on a commodity, that when I say I'm going to pick up this individual commodity, there's many different ways to gain exposure. Again, I talked about having the stock, the actual commodity producer, having whatever physical version, or trading the actual futures. There's some other alternative ways to do it as well, but moving on from cattle, I hope you understand that. The other thing I do want to say with this, and sugar in general, so the agricultural commodities, typically I made a video on inflation, kind of talking about a transitory, rate of change terms, and absolute terms, like all those different things. So go check that out. It was just like, I think a week ago, maybe when I was back in Batumi on the Black Sea. But the most important thing you have to understand with inflation is when the masses start to really see it happening, what happens is they see it in the actual upfront goods, the things they're buying on a day-to-day basis, and what do people need every day? Food, water, shelter, right? So we saw this in shelter with housing commodities. We're not really going to see this in water, in my opinion, but food. Food is where we're going to see it. We saw this, obviously over if you zoom out on the prices of, just in a restaurant, right? This is where you can see it in the actual food, the actual goods, the cost. But if you see these things happening in something like sugar or something like cattle, where it's going to affect the meat actual cost, that's where you're going to see it at your local restaurant, where they're going to have to keep up to base. So it's pretty interesting as far as that goes. Like I said here with copper, oil, let's move on here to sugar. So sugar, again, I think is very, very undervalued. Just on the technical charts here, I mean, you look at what's been going on here. It's pretty interesting, actually, because the long-term trend is this, I would say, we're kind of in a descending triangle, right? So we're kind of in this descending triangle. You could draw it almost like that, because we came back down and retested that, and then we pushed back up, and that's where all the moving averages are going to. And then you could draw a nice little line right here. We could draw a ray, and we could go right here, right there, boom. So you can see this is kind of how I'm looking at it, and we can even move this back. But, I mean, if you do the measurement price chart breakout, now I'm not necessarily going to say this is going to happen, but it's pretty compelling, right? This is almost at these, it was touching those lows. I was much more interested in it a little bit ago. I did pick up some stocks related to sugar, but just on the technical charts goes, I mean, if this was our breakout, we could be breaking past those all-time highs. So the levels you have to watch out for sugar, if you're just looking on the technical charts here, I would say is right here. So we have one level right there, right? So just if we moved up from this 7.17 to 0.23, let's just open a long position and see what that would be just on the spot trade. So not even if you're trading leverage, this would be about 35% gain right there. And then to go up to those all-time highs, we're seeing around 100% gain. And then to that price target measurement breakout, 121%. But again, I always like to be a bit conservative in this. I think it's definitely a long-term trend, so not something obviously you'd want to day trade, because the last time we saw this was in 11, right? So 2011, we saw that massive spike here, massive pump, massive dump here. I like to use the Bollinger Bands, the moving averages, with some of these things. But yeah, that's kind of my outlook with sugar. Again, kind of same thesis as far as fundamentals go, with the overview on, okay, with inflation, typically, what do we end up see? We see maybe some upfront things like in these commodities that the majority of people don't understand why lithium is a good investment. The majority of people don't understand copper, why these things are important for electric vehicles, why these are important for 5G technology. For example, like solid state batteries, you need lithium. Lithium is the number one commodity in a solid state battery, and you need these with all electric vehicles. So that trend has kind of came and went a little bit, in my opinion. There is obviously some long-term upside, so I still do hold a lot of assets and kind of investments that align with that thesis around lithium. But as far as the agricultural commodities, and obviously we're going to get to the precious metal here, that's where I'm looking at sugar and cattle. So, anyways, moving on here to moving on here to silver. I mean, silver is, I think, pretty obvious. Ladislas at the Wandering Investor did a great interview with a guy that is a long-term commodity trader. I am no means an expert. I like to listen to people that have been doing this. Maybe they're in their 60s, their 70s, and they've been investing in a silver for a very, very long time. Personally, I just like to acquire the physical bullion silver, and that's kind of like, you could say like physical gold maybe is more of an insurance play, but physical silver is a little bit, I think, more of an upside play, right? Because we're not even close to these all-time highs. I think we will not only see a break past these all-time highs, but I think we will obviously reach new all-time highs. I am personally looking towards something along the lines of, I mean, again, you could draw this out kind of like this, and then I'll kind of show you my price targets. You could draw this trend out. We kind of have been in this pattern, right? So, okay, actually, let me just do this. Let's use this line as our baseline for this triangle and go, okay, if we are seeing this trend happening, right? So this is like this is a smaller version of this trend. But let's say this is what's happening, maybe like this. We draw it like that. So you could say like this triangle. Well, this measure move price target right here. So you always, when you're trading off of a triangle like this, you basically take the base of the triangle and put it up right here. And that would make our prices right here kind of interesting, right? So now we've been consolidating into this current area. Gold hasn't really taken off, so I would say gold and some of these other commodities maybe is a short-term play. But also, let me know in the comments if you want to see a video on maybe some investments along with these commodities. So, like if there's a company that is a good lithium player, if there's a company that's a good cattle play, or a silver play, or a sugar play that I see that I could potentially do something on that, because these are very, very interesting investment opportunities, and especially in the commodities market. I mean, long-term, identifying these trends in the technical charts in things like the futures are very, very powerful, right? So right here with silver, we are kind of in this ascending triangle, right? So we're seeing that the top is flat right there, kind of we wicked up, and we push back down. Now we're kind of seeing a little bit of a retest off of this level, right? This kind of historical support and resistance line right there that we've kind of bounced off of. And that's kind of the current price action we're in right now. But yeah, I mean, as far as silver goes, it's an interesting investment, right? So again, I like to just trade I like to either buy silver producers or silver mining companies. Typically, you have some companies that are mixed, precious metal miners, and you can get into. So they maybe have some exposure to gold, they have exposure to silver, they have exposure to platinum, palladium, all these different precious metals. But as far as the technicals go here, and for bullion, I mean, I'm not going to say buy now, but look at buying now, or looking at maybe a little bit of a retracement, because I mean, $25 for silver is, we've had this for so long, for obviously a very, very long time. It was in this range where we were kind of bouncing in between $13, and I was picking some up back here, which was kind of nice. What these highs we were kind of seeing were around like $18, and then really blasted off here. We saw this massive dip here in March of 20. But again, when inflation really hits the masses, what do they flock to? Well, they flock to things like gold and silver. I think we've already seen some plays in obviously the crypto market with people flocking to more speculative investments. But as far as like an insurance play or just kind of like a store of value play, that's where I look at physical silver and physical gold. So that's basically all for this video. Oh, sorry, the copper's future chart up here. Yeah, so I did have pulled up. Anyways, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and all. Invest global, and until next time.